after yours has faded. You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it.
God give it, God take it away. If you pull that trigger, right, you pull that trigger for a fucking honourable reason. Like an honourable man, not like some fucking civilian that does not understand the wicked way of our world, mate.
Welcome back. That's right. You heard it up top, folks. We are talking the fifth most famous Tom in Hollywood. We could have chosen Cruise, Hanks, Selleck, many of the other ones. Overrated.
Master Prime.
That's right. We got the contemporary, the number one alpha Tom, Tom Hardy.
Tom Holland? No. Tom Hardy.
That's right. It starts the TH, but...
But I mean, at least he's not a Chris,
Tom
right?
to rule them all.
That's right. The one Tom to rule them all. It's not a Chris. So as always, you are joined by your host, Mike Hardy.
Joe Hardy.
And Cobb Hardy.
Yeah, the Hardy Boys. Let's go.
Hardy Boys. I think this might be our most random topic ever for an episode. But
we could have done a Legends on the Hardy Boys, which would have made more sense.
From WWE?
And Tom Hardy. Yeah.
Tom Hardy, great actor. I think the reason we picked him, right, is we're all huge fans, especially me.
Yes.
But you know, it's been kind of a running joke with us for like the last couple of years because I was always, I was always a big fan of Tom Hardy, and then I would talk him up, and then anytime someone was talking about some other acting or something, I would say like, well, he's no Tom Hardy, and it just kind of became a running joke, right?
Yeah. And then as this week was coming up, we're about to hit a stride here where there's a lot of new stuff coming out, Fast 9 on the horizon. But we were just a little bit strapped for an idea, and we were like, we haven't done a Legends episode, so we went with the old Jacob standby, best Tom Hardy, even Tom Hiddleston, another Tom H. Get out of here, man.
He's crap.
Yeah.
And does Tom Hardy have any new movies coming out or anything to connect this to? No. But...
coming out this year. We did get a little bit of go with the trailer for Venom 2. So
that's true. Venom 2.
So we're just preempting that by giving
very topical.
Very topical. So it was on the top of our minds. So we're going to just jump into it here. We're going to talk about some of our favorite roles that Tom Hardy has graced the screen with. So let's get our symbiotes, hit the desert road, and fly on to space and do this thing. Tom Hardy coming up next.
Hell yeah.
A lot of loyalty for a hired gun!
Or perhaps he's wondering why someone would shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane.
At least you can talk! Who are you?
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan. No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
If I pull that off, will you die?
It would be extremely painful.
You're a big guy.
For you.
Was getting caught part of your plan?
Of course.
But yeah, we're back. We're talking Tom Hardy, as we said at the top.
Tom Hardy.
Greatest episode. We know. You guys have been requesting it. Before we
got a lot
number
of
one written in.
Yeah. There's so many requests been flooding the Twitter, everybody. Kind of an interesting character, though. Get a little bit of his background in before we kind of dive in and just talk some of our favorite roles. Had a weird kind of career trajectory. Sort of started out as a model. Not a lot of people know this. Like, he was on a British modeling TV show that he won, like a modeling contract. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did some weird stuff, but most people kind of first saw him in Band of Brothers, then Black Hawk Down, and then moving into Star Trek Nemesis, and that's kind of where the ball gets rolling. After that, he has a period where he's dealing with drug and alcohol addiction to where he, eventually gets sober. Now he does a lot of work with charities for that kind of stuff, kind of helping people out. But kind of a weird roller coaster, but I think after that point, he gets some of his more memorable roles, the roles that have kind of made him famous, the Dark Knights, the Mad Maxes, the Alfie Solomon's Venom, of course. So, interesting guy for sure. Very private guy, plays a lot of villains, but from what I can gather, mostly seems like a pretty solid, likable, down-to-earth dude, more or less. So, Tom Hardy.
I mean, for me, I'm a huge Tom Hardy fan, probably more than you guys. You guys are just kind of going along with it, and I appreciate that. I don't know if he's my favorite actor, but he's definitely one of my favorite actors. And I think the main reason why I like him so much is that at some point he just decided he's going to do like a different insane accent in like every movie. And that's what he does, and that's why I love him. So, I'm excited to talk about him.
Yeah, well, I you don't speak for me, first of all. I do love Tom Hardy. Maybe not as much as you, but I do think he's weirdly like rated, right? Like people like him, but I do think his talent is really undersold. Sometimes it's a combination of like a Star Trek Nemesis or a Venom, depending on what you thought about those movies. But he always is giving like 110%, and 125% even, and I really appreciate, like you said, it's a weird accent, but it's like you could totally lose him in these roles, and I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a... Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm just going to say he's kind of like almost like a Nicolas Cage type actor where he can be totally crazy and stuff, or he can be more, straight man, but anytime he's in something, it just kind of elevates it for me. But what do you think, Joe?
Yeah.
He does have, to me, like what I'll call the Schwarzenegger effect, where... like think about a movie like Jingle All the Way, where Schwarzenegger just plays like a dad. I find that so unbelievable. If Tom Hardy is in a movie, I assume it's going to be like some sort of crazy movie. It's not going to be like a rom-com of the week type thing. It's like, no, it's going to be your Venoms or your Star Treks. He's going to have a crazy accent. Even something like Bronson, like it's going to be... You're like Tom Hardy's not a guy I would imagine just like running into in the real world ever. Like he has that kind of, I don't know, like if he's in a movie, it's a blockbuster movie.
And Joe, you're totally right about that. He was in one rom-com called This Means War with Reese Witherspoon and Chris Pine. It was kind of like a love triangle thing. And I didn't believe him in that because I just don't believe that he could be like a normal guy in a rom-com. Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's too normal. It's got to be weird if it's Tom Hardy. That's like the one thing about him.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned Schwarzenegger because in Jingle All the Way, it's extra funny because he always has the same accent in movies, right? He has this Austrian accent. So when he's just playing a normal dad in Jingle All the Way, it's like super weird that he's like this giant, muscular Austrian guy. But that's why we love him.
Yeah, it's like, well, Tom Hardy too, he'll get a role like it's maybe doesn't have an accent on the page, but he'll just like decide this is what I'm doing. And then it's just, that's it,
Just kind of like mumble or something. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, what's a weird affect that this character could have? And it's fun, it's like he really is kind of magnetic, whether it's in Venom where he's this goofball reporter from San Francisco with a New York accent. I don't know. But it's, you can't help but kind of dig the guy. He's got a lot of charisma and I think a lot of talent. Yeah. So,
and I want to mention Venom specifically because a couple years ago Venom came out, right? And before it came out, we were all talking about it, and Joe was just like, "Oh, it's gonna be so bad. It's gonna be," and I was like, I would have no interest in this movie except for the fact that Tom Hardy is in it. And when I saw the trailer and saw what he was doing in that role, I was like, okay, I need to see this because he just looks so insane. It's like he's in a different movie than everyone else, and it's just.
I feel like we have to just start with Venom then. Yeah, he in that movie, and I feel like this is like a through line of Tom Hardy. He's just in a different movie than everyone else. Like he is playing like a slapstick comedy when everyone else is doing like a edgy, serious superhero movie. I mean, the same thing with like Star Trek Nemesis. Like he is in his own version of Hamlet or something like that, and everyone else is like in a Star Trek movie. He's never going to be doing what everyone else is doing, which is, I think, what makes all of his performances so memorable.
I can't fight what I am. Yeah,
totally. And Venom, I would agree with you. It would be just a run-of-the-mill bad movie if not for Tom Hardy elevating it into almost like a so bad it's good type of movie because he's just so off the wall in that movie.
Yeah, you put one of the Hollywood Chris's in there, and it's not going to be the same movie.
Exactly.
Right. But yeah, so Venom was kind of his big solo superhero thing, yet to make it into the MCU per se, like those other Tom H's. Shakes fist, right? Let Tom Hardy in there. Well, eventually, with the who knows what's going on with the multiverse stuff, we might get Tom Hardy's Venom in the MCU, which would be cool. I would love to see him running around with Tom Hiddleston trying to take the crown for best Tom H
versus Tom H. Yeah,
that's right. Loki, get out of here. Yeah, for sure.
Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
Yeah, the battle of the Tom H's. Let's go. But I did want to ask, maybe we could just go around. With Venom's his latest big thing. Jacob, as your favorite actor ever. What's your favorite Tom Hardy project? If it's not Venom, then what would it be?
That's a hard question because I love him in everything, but for me, honestly, it might have to be The Dark Knight Rises because I don't think that's a good movie, and I know how Joe feels about that movie. It's definitely not, it's a huge step down from The Dark Knight, right? I think The Dark Knight is as close to a masterpiece as a Batman movie could be.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight Rises is not very good, but his performance as Bane in that movie is an instant classic for me. And it might not be accurate to Bane in the comics, but to me it's just it makes that movie watchable. So anytime he's on screen, it's interesting, and then when he's not on screen, it kind of sucks. But I literally the first scene with him in the airplane with Littlefinger, the CIA guy.
Mm-hmm.
I know that scene I could recite that scene line for line because it's just so. I mean, it's almost like a meme, but it's just so. It's such a good scene for me, and I just every line reading that he does in that movie is just incredible as Bane, and I don't care if you can't understand what he's saying. I just love it. So. That's my take on Bane.
He's just out here monologuing in that movie. All he does is monologue.
Yeah.
They give him so much scenery to chew.
He's got so many classic lines, it's incredible.
I'm just trying. Yeah. Oh, I'm just saying. I'm trying to imagine his Bane training in the League of Shadows. He's talking about that. It's what were you doing there?
Right. I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, he doesn't have. He doesn't have the juice that makes him stronger or anything like that, and it's not accurate to
he just
Bane.
vapes.
And Vane's also supposed to be a super smart genius as well, but he's not really in this movie. He's just a guy, and at the end we realize that he's kind of just a decoy for the real villain, which is Talia al Ghul. But it's just so funny, and when he comes in, when the football stadium scene, he has a little speech It's great. How can you not love him?
Cyborg's probably on
He's
the field.
got so many little speeches. I just imagine him training, being the weather. Looks like rain there could be. I don't know why I'm making him like Yoda, but
he's
in
a
my
metal
head
Yoda.
that is how he is. He just starts talking and he'll tie it back into some sort of big metaphor for justice or
it's
or whatever.
Yeah, hey, welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you? What is a hamburger? 2 pieces of bread and a meat in the middle. It's okay.
He's instantly iconic. I mean, his voice, I don't know if him and Christopher Nolan talked about that voice beforehand or if he just showed up and started doing that and Christopher Nolan was just
I would imagine I would imagine that's how it went, man. I imagine that's how it goes every time you ask Tom Hardy to be in anything. Is he just shows up and he's like, hi, I'm Tom Hardy. I'm going to read for this role. And then morphs into I just decided this is going to be someone who is Scottish but raised in New York. So they have kind of a little bit of twang for both. But now they moved to Alabama. So you got to mix that into
tuberculosis when he was 7. So his throat's. Yeah.
But I just love actors when they do crazy accents, and sometimes it doesn't work. But Tom Hardy's the king of just doing weird accents, right?
Yeah. So for Bane, I agree. A very iconic Tom Hardy role, and not the best Batman movie, but you can't follow up Dark Knight. But it does have.
He elevates it.
He elevates. It's and with every scene he's in, like you said, you can't take your eyes off him, and that's kind of what he does.
And Heath Ledger as the Joker, obviously iconic, and that movie's great. But I think Bane is equally iconic, the Tom Hardy Bane. You can never top that to me.
Slightly more memey, but very iconic. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And while the comic book was brains and brawn, and we don't really get that, Tom Hardy's version of Bane is definitely something that people are going to remember for a long time. So that's a good choice. Joe, how about you?
He's like a yoked Socrates.
Yes.
I think
There was a time you looked at the stars and dreamed of what might be.
Childish dreams, Captain. Lost in the dilithium mines of Remus. I am what you see now.
I see more than that. I see what you could be. The man who is Shinzon of Remus and Jean-Luc Picard could never exterminate the population of an entire planet. He's better than that.
He is what his life has made him.
And what will you do with that life? Waste it in a blaze of hatred? There is a better way.
It's too late.
Never, never. You still have a choice. Make the right one now.
I can't fight what I am.
Yes, you can.
I'll show you my true nature. Our nature. And as Earth dies, remember, I will always, forever be Shinzon of Remus. And my voice shall echo through time long after yours has faded to a dim memory.
Like my thesis of this podcast, I guess, is Tom Hardy is the king of being good in movies that I don't like. So Dark Knight Rises, Star Trek Nemesis, Venom. You can pick any one of those as my favorite of his, because it's like, yeah, none of those are movies that I like, but I enjoy his performance in each one of them. Mike, I'm not going to steal your thunder because I have a pretty obvious idea of
what
yours
Mike's
is
going
to
pick,
be. So
yeah.
we'll get there.
And that's a great movie.
I like calling back to something like Bronson. Have you guys ever seen Bronson?
Bronson was the
like
first
a real
movie.
film school kid movie.
Yeah, that was the first movie. When I saw him in that, I was like, "Oh shit, this guy's like a great actor." Like 2008.
Yeah, I mean that was the first one where I was like, "Okay, that's Tom Hardy." Like everything I had seen him in before, he was just like some dude, and then it was like, yeah, that was probably the birth of the accents. And like, I don't know, that was stylish. I like that he picks like projects you wouldn't expect him to pick and then does something weird.
Yeah, and the thing I like about him also is that he could be like a typical leading man. Like he's a good looking guy. Like he could very easily be like a Chris Pine or something like that. And he was in a movie with Chris Pine, but he doesn't do that most of the time. He picks weird choices and a lot of villains, like you said, and just a lot of like eccentric characters and art movies and just different things that you wouldn't expect him to do.
Yeah. And I have not seen Bronson, but I know like he's done this a lot. It's like he got super jacked for that movie, just like he did for Bane, just like he did for Warrior. Like he kind of does that body transformation thing. He really inhabits the role of Bronson. Like he studied the actual criminal that he was portraying and would like talk to him. And even that guy was like impressed with the effort. And like, well, I haven't seen it. You know, I saw some of these interviews and like, he's definitely dedicated and he does make interesting choices. And I think that's maybe what's cited as what really put him on the radar is a transcendent kind of talent or more unique than, you know, Black Hawk Down as soldier number 32, you know?
Yeah.
Is it my time then to throw my favorite?
I think so, yeah.
Tom Hardy.
I know exactly what you're gonna pick. But...
I think everyone knows exactly what I'm gonna pick. My favorite movie of the last 10 years, Mad Max: Fury Road. It's the greatest movie made in the last 10 years. It's in my opinion better than all the Marvel movies combined. That's just me though. But Tom Hardy's great in it. But the weird thing is he's literally and figuratively kind of a passenger in this movie. It really is Charlize Theron's movie and she crushes it, but I do really enjoy Tom Hardy's just weird grunting and his physicality.
Yeah.
He's a different guy, but yeah, this episode's a backdoor pilot for me to talk about Mad Max again.
I figured.
It's the exception that makes the rule, right? So like the rule is that he elevates stuff that's maybe not that great by being in it. And this is something that's so great that he really does just like take a back seat to it. You could probably plug any number of actors into the Max role there and it would be fine. And you couldn't do that with some of the other roles. So it's the exception that makes the Tom Hardy role.
I like it.
Right. I would say, it is, it's Charlize Theron's movie. And it's funny because like I'm a huge Charlize Theron fan too. So like the two of them together in a movie is like my dream casting because like I love her. Like, she's amazing in everything. But yeah, she's great in that movie. But he, I think, does a great job as Max. Like, he's playing it as like a guy who's like kind of forgotten like how to talk to other people. Like, he barely has any lines in that whole movie. Like you said, he just grunts and like, but he still has like weird affects, and like I just think he like really like knocks that role out of the park just by being him.
Yeah, it's like the most he can do to connect with a human being in that film is tell her what his name is. Like, that's as far as he can make it into becoming like a regular human. Like, he's been so lost in the wasteland, right? But he does a lot with very little.
Totally.
Yeah. I hear Charlize Theron would have given her left arm to be in a movie with Tom Hardy before this.
Nice.
Got a robot hand.
Terrible. That'll be our next Legends episode, is Charlize Theron. We'll just go through all of Jacob's favorite actors.
Yeah, how many baths can
great.
she take in her career? Many.
Yeah.
It's in her contract.
And it's funny talking about Mad Max. They're making a prequel to that, I guess. That's still on, but it's, a different actress playing her at a younger age. And I just have like not that much interest in that, because I think what makes that movie so good partially is the actors, and I feel like a prequel with a different actress isn't going to be as good. So
yeah, and I heard it's Queen's Gambit, Anya Taylor-Joy supposedly going to be the younger Furiosa.
I like her. Okay.
But again, you can't take it from Charlize, because she's just a force of nature in that movie. So.
Yeah.
We'll see. They also have Tom Hardy billed here on IMDb as Mad Max: The Wasteland, but we don't know, is that in development? I know these sequels are all up in the air. I don't really think any of this has any development. So, I guess
when it comes to Mad Max stuff, I'll believe it when I'm sitting in the theater. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
How long did we wait in between the original movies and Fury Road? Like,
what was it, like 86
George Miller
2015? It's like 30
another
years.
Happy Feet movie or something. Who knows?
Yeah, and with Mad
Happy
Max
Feet 6.
Yeah, continuity doesn't matter. I don't care about sequels. Happy Feet 6, maybe we'll get Mad Max by that time, but otherwise we'll just have to wait for Venom: Let There Be Carnage coming soon for our next big Tom Hardy appearance.
Right. But yeah, Mad Max Fury Road, it's a perfect movie, and it's great.
But it is the one movie, like Joe said, where everything else is at his level, to where he almost doesn't stand out as much.
Right.
And it's the only one of his pieces of work where that happens. Like, think of The Revenant.
True.
Like, there's a bear in that movie, and he's out acting the bear.
Yeah, but I will say while I agree that you could plug in a different actor and it would still be a good movie, I don't think it would be as good, because I still think he would do a better job than like pretty much any actor that you put in there, just by,
being this feral human. Like, he could do that better than anyone. For sure. Yeah. Well, I guess, this is just kind of a general retrospective roundtable. What are some other good examples of his work? Because, we're a big Peaky Blinders family over here.
Yeah.
I was late to the party, but again,
Peaky
every time he's on the screen, you're just like, I just want you to talk forever.
Yeah. His character in that is the best. If you don't know Peaky Blinders, he plays a Jewish British gangster that has like the weirdest like British accent that I've ever heard, and like he's barely intelligible sometimes. Like, you can't really understand what he's saying half the time, but it's just he's so like magnetic in that role that it's like great. And when him and Cillian Murphy, I don't know what it is, but when they're have scenes together, it's great. And because they're both like, I love Cillian Murphy too. So
Scarecrow and Bane,
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, and they do great together. Yeah, it's Alfie Solomon. He's great. I don't know. So if you haven't watched Peaky Blinders, he's not in it a ton, but when he is, it's awesome. Because that's what Tom Hardy do. Joe, do you have any other honorable Tom Hardy mentions that you?
I mean, I feel like we should talk a little bit about Nemesis, right? So in one of the later Star Trek movies, it's either the last or second to last of the TNG era movies.
I think it's after Insurrection.
I think it's the last.
Because it pretty much killed it.
I think it is the last.
Because it was rebooted in 2008 with the J.J. Abrams Star Treks.
Yeah, and he's playing Jean-Luc Picard, like essentially. You know what I mean? Like, what, given his age, his experience at the time, they must have believed in him so hard to be like, okay, you're going up against Patrick Stewart in thinky talk scenes. Good luck. Like, and
Yeah.
he chews the scenery just as much, man. Like,
Right.
that is impressive for anyone, let alone someone who is that young in their career.
Totally. And he's playing like an evil Picard. He's
Mm-hmm.
a clone of Picard that's evil.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah, and he really does chew the scenery. It's not my favorite one, obviously, but it almost felt like when I was going back to watch the clips just to see Tom Hardy's acting in this again. Like, it was like I'm watching the Picard TV show because Patrick Stewart still is, like, older looking in this than he was in the episodes. So it's like, this could
Right.
just be a weird, like, just bring Shenzon back in Picard season 2 and give me Tom Hardy. Like, just do it
Yeah.
again. Why not?
Well, I think that the Picard show has a lot more in common with the TNG movies than the actual show, because
Yeah.
the movies were a lot more action heavy and just like the show, just like the new show. And I just like when I watch the new show, not to make this a Picard episode, but it doesn't remind me of TNG. It just reminds me more of the movies.
Right, right.
If you threw Tom Hardy in there, would it remind you more of TNG?
That would be
You
amazing
just
if Tom
throw-
Hardy just
throw-
came back to play one of his first movie roles ever as
Yeah,
Shinzon.
let
Like,
him
that would
get
be
another
incredible.
crack at it. Like, you just do a weird time travel thing. It's like Shinzon's back, haunting Picard's past. Just go for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I would actually
Why
be
not?
more interested in that than anything that I can imagine
Yeah.
right now.
And speaking of Picard, I don't know if you saw, Mike, there's a trailer for season 2 out.
No
and it looks-
Shinzon
With
though.
Yeah.
Q,
I don't know.
baby.
Okay, Q.
Yeah, Q's coming back, and then yeah, I mean it looks I don't know. You know how we felt about season
Right.
1.
Well, if you want to see the genesis of Picard's life and story, you can check out Star Trek Nemesis, but one chapter of that life to catch up on Picard, starring Tom Hardy, and we've done it, brought it back to the episode. I have another great segue. I watched recently a movie on HBO called Stewart, A Life in Reverse. And this is, I think, 2007. Yeah, it's like an indie film that has Tom Hardy and Benedict Cumberbatch. And it was made by the BBC, and it's based on a true story of a writer who wrote a biography about an alcoholic, homeless man. And so Tom Hardy is obviously the alcoholic, homeless man, and Benedict Cumberbatch is the writer. So it's based on a true story. It's like kind of a really sad story about this guy and how he became how he ended up, and, you know, his tragic life. The director doesn't treat the material, I think, with the gravity it deserves, especially being a true story. But again, Tom Hardy is elevating every single scene he's in. He's magnetic in it. So it again, it's just like Joe's the rule of Tom Hardy. Even if it's a movie that's not good, he's going to be the best thing in it, right? And that's what
Right.
happened here. And I just
Savior of mediocrity, Tom Hardy.
Wow, put that on a shirt.
Listen, sweetie, you can't take a man.
Gave information in exchange for the
Oh,
share.
he told me there were things in that treasury, right? God himself, he spoke to me and he said, Alfie, you were meant to have these things.
You crossed the line, Alfie.
You fucking
You
what?
crossed the line.
The line. They're using my boy!
You fucking know.
Yeah, I knew, you know, but damned as I am, made no fucking difference to me, mate. Fucking hell, sorry. Oh, crying out loud. The fuck is going on?
But that was my other connection is we get Shinzon, Tom Hardy, and then we have Benedict Cumberbatch, Khan. Both would go on to be big bads in Star Trek movies, you know, in their
There you
careers.
go.
All
Yeah.
right.
Doctor Strange and Venom. There you go.
And they're going to connect again in the multiverse of madness and bring all the
Right.
Spider-Mans in. It'll be weird.
I'll throw out some honorable mentions. Well, first of all, the one role that I don't like of Tom Hardy's is actually the movie Inception, which I think is a decent movie, but I don't like him in that movie because that's like the one movie where he's playing a completely like straight man. Like he's just a normal, like he
Guy.
doesn't have a weird accent or anything. He's just a guy.
I
And I
forgot
thought,
he was in it, to be honest.
yeah, he's part of the crew, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Leo and Elliot Page. But to me, he's like the least interesting character in that movie because he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't have a cool accent. He's just there. So I don't know why he was even in that. I guess Christopher Nolan was just wanting to work with him again, but didn't like that one as much.
That was before The Dark Knight Rises, right? That must
true,
have been
true.
like his test. Because that was in between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. So he probably was like, all right, well, you're going to be in my Batman movie. You can be in my not James Bond movie.
That
He's
makes
also
a lot of sense.
he's also in the Christopher Nolan movie Dunkirk, but he has like a mask over his face, like a helmet on his face the whole time, to the point where you
He's like
literally
a fighter
wouldn't even know
pilot.
it was him. Yeah, but he never actually like reveals his face, so you wouldn't even know it was him if you didn't know, in a way. So that's kind of an interesting role. And then what else? He was in some Guy Ritchie movie like Rock and Rolla. He was in that. And then he was in the movie Layer Cake, which I actually like a lot, which is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did the Kingsman movies. But this was before Kingsman. If you haven't seen it, Layer Cake is actually a really good movie with Daniel Craig, James Bond. It's a fun movie. So it's like a British gangster movie, like Guy Ritchie's type movies, and he plays a British gangster. So
Nice.
that's a good one. If you like Snatch and all those movies, I would check it out.
Yeah. Again, I was doing research too. He makes interesting choices. I haven't seen this yet, but there's a movie called Lock, and it's basically, I guess, just him in a car having conversations on the phone for like the whole movie. But it's like he makes it really interesting, I guess. I haven't checked it
Right.
out, but I heard like, it's just a weird choice. And you're mentioning all the Christopher Nolan connections and working with Leo. And it's like he didn't even want to do The Revenant until Leo was like, hey, buddy, read the script. Come on. It's like
Yeah,
he's
great
weirdly
in that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's got
in
a
it.
great accent.
Yeah, give him an accent. He needs an accent. Well, he'll give him
Doing
stuff
an
one.
old-timey American frontiersman type accent.
10 out of 10 accent.
You got to rank all of his performances exclusively on the accent. That is
yeah.
the only
I think so.
qualifying factor here.
I think by accent,
other-
Alfie Solomon is my number one. If I'm
That's-
ranking it by accent.
When I was first watching Peaky Blinders and I got to the point where he shows up, I did not know he was going to be in the show beforehand.
No.
And he shows up and I was so excited. I was like, I could not believe that Tom Hardy was there and doing a weird accent. I was like in heaven.
Jackpot, yeah.
Another movie I wanted to mention that I haven't seen, but this is a Legends episode, right? He was in a movie called Legend where he plays twins and he plays both characters and they're like different.
British
they're identical
gangsters,
twins.
right?
Yeah, but they have like different personalities. So one's like the more straight laced guy who wears glasses or whatever, and then the other one is like the more like hothead and gets in fights. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to watch that just to see two Tom Hardys. in a
Too Tom, too Hardy. Yeah, let's go.
Too Tom, too hard. No one saw the Crazy Capone movie he made either. We're doing an episode about this guy and we haven't seen his latest
Haven't seen the
movie.
Capone movie. No,
No.
The Capone one, yeah.
I haven't
I
seen
have not.
Yeah,
Well,
he does like crazy prosthetic work. You see like Al Capone through the years. I'm pretty sure it's Tom Hardy.
yeah, it's him.
I think so.
Yep.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
No, he's
Oh,
Capone.
there we go.
Wow,
There's
yeah.
a lot of, as big of a Tom Hardy fan as I am, there's actually a lot of movies I haven't seen that he's in. So
That's the thing. I think he's well known, but I think there's a lot of his work that even we're not familiar with personally, and a lot of kind of understated, like that Steward of Life Backwards. Not a great movie, but like a fascinating performance, And it's just like this guy, you can just watch him kind of do anything. And
there's even there's a movie called Lawless where he's like a bootlegger. It's like him and Shia LaBeouf,
Gary Oldman,
yeah.
right? If you look at that pairing, I think Gary Oldman's like his idol. So like getting to work with him a couple times on different projects was big for him.
Tinker Tailor Soldier
Soldier
Spy,
Spy.
which is another great movie. If you've seen that movie, it's a classic spy thriller. Great movie.
And I briefly mentioned, I think,
Gary
Warrior at
Oldman
some
is
point.
another like
Oh yeah, go ahead.
he's like another chameleon though. So like those guys
Totally,
working together is like two people who just entirely disappear into shit.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you could see how like that definitely influenced Tom Hardy's style. When we got Gary Oldman in The Fifth Element versus Gary Oldman in The Professional, or anything else. It's like, who is this
Gary
man?
Oldman, yeah, he totally disappears in the roles a lot. And even Christian Bale, obviously he worked with him on Batman, and Christian Bale, known for changing his weight and gaining and losing a lot of weight or muscle for different roles. That's kind of something he's known for.
These British guys, what's wrong with you?
Method.
That's method. Yeah, and then again, Warrior was a great kind of probably the best MMA movie, right?
Warrior.
I mean, in my opinion. Yeah. So he's done that's Tom Hardy of it all,
and then the one traditional rom-com that he was in, This Means War, not a very good movie, directed by McG.
Not a very good director.
No. And
it's like wasn't it written as a spy versus spy movie, and then they just ditched the spy versus spy?
Well, it's basically
but kept the black and white motifs. Yeah.
It's kind of, they're both spies that are fall for the same girl, and then they use their spy methods to get at each other or whatever.
I mean, I could be making this up, but I'm pretty sure it was written as a literal adaptation of Spy vs. Spy, the old, where you would have the all black spy and the all white spy. It was written as an adaptation of that, and then halfway through development, they just ditched that and made a regular rom-com with two handsome people and Reese Witherspoon.
Right, but they are CIA agents in that movie. So that's very funny.
That is funny.
But just seeing Tom Hardy as a normal guy trying to win over a girl played by Reese Witherspoon, it just didn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
No, what I'm way more interested in is where we're going next, which is Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
You're going to get Woody Harrelson versus Tom Hardy in a who can be more batshit competition. All that movie needs is throwing Nick Cage in there as doppelganger or something like that. And those are the three biggest wild cards. I cannot wait to watch those two dudes just make the weirdest choices with each other. Totally. They're going to. It's going to be so weird.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think that's a great way to kind of walk out of this section as we kind of speculate a little bit about, Let There Be Carnage. Because with the weird choices, beginning with Woody Harrelson's wig down to what performance choices are they going to make? I mean, I thought I kind of didn't like Venom, right? I watched it, but now I'm really getting the soft spot for Tom Hardy, and I'm he was pretty good in it. It's the story had some issues, but Tom Hardy was good. So I'm down for Carnage.
To me, it's not a terrible movie. To me, it's on the level of a lot of bad superhero movies, but it's elevated by his performance and just him being so kind of batshit. But let me ask you this: who is your favorite Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy or Topher Grace? Who do you prefer?
Well,
I would prefer to watch him fight in a cage. That is, but only in character, where you have schmarmy Topher Grace and confused Tom Hardy.
Well, maybe if this whole Spider-Verse thing really happens, we can get the face-to-face in the cage with Bonesaw, right? I'm gonna have to go.
Bonesaw is ready.
I'm ready too, Bonesaw.
Unfortunately, that's not possible. Macho Man Randy Savage, R.I.P. But
but we could at least get Topher Grace and Tom Hardy, which again, obviously TG is not as strong as TH, so you got to go with Tom Hardy. The G is one letter too short. Right. Yeah, you almost had him, Topher. I'm excited about Let There Be Carnage, though, for sure. So Tom Hardy out here, I would love to see it folded in the MCU and just get those accents out here, dude.
Absolutely.
My hope is that they just don't try to make it better. That because I'll be honest, to me, Venom, if you take Tom Hardy out, it is god awful. Daredevil, Ben Affleck. I'd put Ben Affleck's Daredevil above it if you take Tom Hardy out. But with it, I don't know, man. It's there's something about watching him who is in an entirely different movie than the rest of the cast. So I really hope that in 2 you have Carnage, who is an entirely different movie than Venom, and Venom, who is an entirely different movie than Carnage. And then the rest of the scenery, which is in the same sort of Linkin Park soundtrack, edgy
Paramilitary
teenage,
guards.
superhero movie.
Yeah, and all that scenery
But
gets
then you have like
devoured.
Woody Harrelson. Yeah. Oh, I want it. I'm here for that. Like, please don't try to make that movie better. Just keep going the same trajectory.
Let it go off the rails.
More and more crazy character actors.
Please.
Yeah.
We're going to get,
Totally.
then bring Jared Leto in eventually. We'll have vampire Jared Leto and all the craziest actors. Just
Yeah,
get
I
the
can't
craziest.
believe they're even making that movie.
Give me
but,
Gary Oldman. It's Norman Osborn. Let's just go
Yeah.
wild.
Oh, now we're talking. Give me a universe without Spider-Man and all of his villains played by the craziest people in Hollywood.
That's the only way it would work. All right.
I know.
Well, thanks for taking this ride along the Tom Hardy career train. We're going to be wrapping it up with our final thoughts on the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Hardy, right after this.
If there's no love, there's no life. Surrounded by these lives and lies. In this world, I hold my wife to my chest in the night. I press her face close to mine. Wipe the tears from my eyes. I don't need to see my baby cry. You hold my hand, I hold it tight as I can. These are memories to die for. People to die for. These are real lives to live for. People to die for. The real people to fight for. The real people. They take you, replace you, and blaze through you like politicians always do. But the law states that we're all free, but they make more papers, and we get red tape, and they get all the take, and we get screwed while they sit on big mistakes in real estates. And we put up with Bill Gates where we ain't got shit on our dinner plate, and someone's forsaken us, taking us for a ride on a mule. Well, they be driving fast in their fast cars and their rocket fuel, and it's not cool to make a man drool. It's cruel to treat him like a fool.
We're back on the most random episode so far of Normies Like Us, the Tom Hardy Legends episode. But weirdly,
Everyone's been asking for it.
Yeah, finally, your
demand.
wishes are demand. Weirdly, a very fun one to record, so thanks, Joe and Jacob, for joining me. Colin will be back. He's on vacay, doing some accent training, I presume. So we'll get the whole band back together. But yeah, Tom Hardy, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
If you clicked on this episode, seeing that it was called Legends Tom Hardy, and you listened to the whole thing, then I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I hope that you love Tom Hardy as much as we do. And, he's the best. What else can I say?
I guess you can't say much more than that. I would say he's a quite talented and handsome actor.
Oh, he's fine. I like Tom Hardy enough, I guess. Final thoughts, Tom Hardy.
Love him.
Thumbs up, buddy. I'll give him the old thumbs up. He makes bad stuff watchable, and he blends into good stuff without taking too much of the scenery away from characters like Furiosa. So he's just the right amount of spice. He blends into the background of good stuff, and he elevates bad stuff. Tom Hardy, you got the Schwarzenegger effect with him, but ultimately, I'm here for him. He's good. I gotta go look. My final thought here is if we can make an episode about Tom Hardy when Tom Hardy ain't got much going on right now, we can do an episode about anything. So please write in. You want to hear us talk about like Mask or Dino Riders or Street Sharks? Like we can do any of that. So I'm very confident in our ability to make content and episodes on just about anything. So.
Well, we
Tom
decided
Hardy,
that
you did it, buddy. You gave me a confidence boost.
we said, Venom Let There Be Carnage is coming out in September, so that's as close enough of a tie-in that we can make for this random episode.
Yeah, but I mean, Tom Hardy, it's been long deserved. He deserves a legend episode more than Tom Cruise, more than Tom Hanks, more than Tom Hiddleston, more than Tom Clancy. All right.
That's right.
Tom
no
Hardy.
other Tom can beat him. Maybe Tom York, the singer from Radiohead. That's the only one, in my opinion.
Honestly, Tom Cruise would be fun because he hangs on airplanes.
Episode.
But maybe Tom York will get the jump on there. Good, another transition then. Street Sharks episode. Joe, great idea. Vin Diesel did a Street Sharks commercial for the rubber hand puppets, the punchers, right? And we got Fast 9 coming up next.
Well, I just want to say, Tom Cruise might hang on to airplanes, but Tom Hardy crashes airplanes. So.
Oh, man. You merely hung on to the airplane. I crashed it. All right.
I was born in the airplane crash.
in the crash of it. Then this metal got stuck to my face. They said put the oxygen mask.
Till I was a man.
Oh my God. Thank you for listening, Normies. Be sure to go to Normies Like Us on social media. And like, share, subscribe, iTunes, YouTube, all that good stuff. Thanks for checking out the Tom Hardy Extravaganza Legends episode. Again, we can cover anything. I would love to do Dino Riders. That is right up my alley, just like Street Sharks. So write it in, people, and thank you very much. This has been Mike Hardy.
Joe Hardy.
Bob Hardy.
The Hardy
See you
Boys.
later, Hardy Boys.
Signing off.
Hardy Boys out.